Welcome, weary wanderer. It is I, back for another episode of Rate the Base. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. Well, we've done it before, but we're going to do it again. I'm going to rate my base. And please do give your comment as well and let me know what you think about this. Before we get started, just two things to tell you. One is that there is a free-to-play version of this base. I will try and kind of point you in the right direction for how to do that. Of course, having the glass pack helps. And two, this is actually a day one base. And what I mean by that is, when I transferred over to this hard server, everything that you see can be done on the first day with that. I think it's like the first or second tier of the mimetics. Like, there's just nothing special going on, except of course for the glass pack. I know I moan so much about people using it too much, and in some ways this is a little similar to my last build in that I've done a three-tier structure of the bottom, the middle and the top, with glass for the view, but still there are differences. And I want to talk to you before we go inside about the illusion that I've created for this aesthetic. I just wanted to try something a little bit different. I wanted to challenge myself by using the curved walls, the fan foundations, and crescent ceilings, and the crescent foundations as well, I think. And I've just kind of done them, interchanged them one after the other, and that means that there aren't that many straight like wall pieces. So if you look at this from above, before we take a look at what I'm going to show you in terms of the illusion, it looks a bit like a Christmas tree. And the reason it looks like a Christmas tree is because there are kind of imperfect dimensions. This goes 6 blocks by 7 blocks. And what I did was I initially started by building it right at the bottom with this sort of wave, you know, with the fan and the wooden crescent, and then a fan and a wooden crescent, and I just kept making waves all the way around. But as I got to the corners, I obviously had to change that up. And then there was the challenge of getting an entrance on one of these sides whilst holding on to that idea of the curve. And I didn't want to make an entrance off a flat wall. So what I did instead was I created an illusion of the curves. So if you look at it from this angle here, you can see that where the wall vines come down, it looks like it's curving all the way along. But in actual fact, I have surreptitiously snuck in one straight wood wide frame there with the double painted doors and put my entrance there. And the reason it looks like it's still curving is because it kind of does, but I've chopped it off and make this kind of, it's not like a false wall, but you know, it looks as if it's going to continue on and doesn't. And I've actually done that around the other side as well, where if you look at it from here, it all looks like it's curvy, but when you get to the back, there is another kind of false wall here where it just kind of becomes jagged, and that allowed me to change the shape of the structure further back, and that leads towards the garage, which we will get to later. Some mistakes I made with this build quite early on. I realized that the size of this building kind of sucks, because what's wrong here is that when it comes to the furniture and decor, reaching the 250 limit happened very early on. So the decking is way too wide, and as I walk around here, this is the same kind of idea, by the way, as what I did with the shape of the building. Wooden fan foundation and a wooden crescent, and then I just did the parapets, the stone half curved, blah 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 blah. The reason I mean, I really should have done stone foundations here, because I've had to rebuild this recently after the Stardust Resonant filter purification. Absolutely sucked because half this place got destroyed. Here we've got the firing range. I decided to enclose them off with the brick wall there. I think it looks quite good, and I like them so that when I'm, you know, working in the dark, I can still see them. I'm just going to quickly turn these off and I'll edit that out. I find it quite annoying when you're looking through walls and you can just see the DPS meter. Anyway, a theme that I like to kind of stick to is when I'm working with machinery or in hard areas, I like some kind of stone floor, and I'm quite keen on these hexagonal. Are they hexagonal? The bricks, and I think they look great. So this is just the outer decking area here. When it comes to placing furniture, I've experimented a little bit with the builds and how I'm placing everything. So I've put down, I think those are just, yeah, they're left sloping walls, and I've got a half wall there and just kind of surrounded it with its own sort of shelter and given it a little light as well, and a different floor because, well, I don't know. Anyway, it's clearly needed with all the rain. So let me just take you around the other side and I will show you another shelter that I've built here. I showed this one to one of my friends and he said that it looked like an area for smokers outside their workplace. How dare he degrade what I would consider a very, very well thought through little summer house. But oh no, it's a smoking building. Yeah, well, you better not get any of your dirty fumes on my upholstery, you know what I'm saying? Right, so round here we've got a relaxing dining area where everyone goes and pilfers all the cakes from the stand here. Again, like a bus shelter, just something to cover it from the elements. Clearly we're getting a lot of it. And then a small area to relax in, which has been divided with the plant boxes, just to stay away from the plebs who are, you know, like laughing and drinking and grilling on the barbecue over there. And I got a water feature at the edge, and I only put that in because I paid for it, and I'm going to use it, right? At least I'm not, you know, like putting it next to a lake, which is what so many other people do. Why have a water feature next to the water? Anyway, moving on. This, well, we'll get to the garage later. I will take you round now to my front entrance, and the power of editing will help with that. So what we've got here is the painted double doors. These are available on day one, although that's an absolute joke, man. How are they painted? Tell me, in which way are they actually painted? Look at it, just peeling off. Absolutely disgusting, man. I cannot believe they let that stand. Anyway, so yeah, just bear that in mind. This is a day one base. It's only the it's only the first few memetics. So this is completely achievable on your first transfer to a hard server. Redwood wooden floors, and I think they look great. I've used them in my last build as well. So the main walkway, when you go past it, you will be treated to the ambience of the aquariums left and right, and I've tried this before in terms of making them enclosed off somehow. I tried it with one of my hive mates, and we actually managed to get them boxed up, but we couldn't get it to replicate. But I thought it would be quite nice just to use these here, the inverted walls and the columns, and more small wooden half walls there. It still looks pretty good, I think. I'm quite happy with that. And this is still an open plan in the way that I don't really want doors everywhere, but I still want the place to feel full. So it's quite difficult to manage the two. And something else that's difficult to manage is how to place all your items inside a building where there's constant curves everywhere. So I'll show you how I dealt with that a little bit as well. Actually, I'll show you on this side. Behind the aquariums they're my deviant containment units, or whatever the heck they're called, and I've just slightly offset them, pushing them back as this curve comes around like that. So that's one way that I've managed to solve it. I don't like people just like plonking fish tanks down on a wall that curves. I don't think it looks right. However, there is possibly a way. It doesn't look like I managed it there, but I've only just placed them today, those two. Yeah, also a little piano corner as well, and instead of worrying about the two curves there, I've placed it right in the middle and gave myself diamond flooring as well. I think that's one way to solve it as well. And yeah, so these open areas here aren't really meant to be walked through, because it's only going to be when you take out the dead fish. But because I am a big advocate of being able to walk anywhere without having to jump, you actually still can do it and create that diamond shape. There's nothing new. There's just like 4 of these, the small wooden right sloping walls. Why do they have to be so convoluted, these terms? Anyway, over here we have a kitchen. Many people have used this, and I've seen it in quite a few of the builds. I actually really like this solution. It's just a half wall and then wooden square ceilings, and I think that's just a pattern on the top. Great way to give the illusion of both a working surface area to prepare food or just to eat from. And yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, so the workshop, redwood flooring into red bricks. I didn't want a culture shock when going from one area to the next, but I certainly want to give the feel that there is a difference between we're in a living area and now we're going to work. Also with furnaces and whatnot, I don't really like the idea of wooden floors being around that. So I've done the same with the ceiling as well, kept that brick effect there. And in here is my little cubby hole where the crates are on the iron shelves. People keep asking me where I get these. It was a random drop on that material farm that you can do just kind of north of Blackfell. Generally, I've tried to create lots of different shapes, but keep it open. So that's how I've done it. So it's the same with this as well. This kind of diamond, this kind of opening there. And above in that little alcove is all the weapons that are never coming down, because what's the point in having a weapon that drops that you can never repair? Anyway, so let's take a look upstairs now. And this floor is meant to kind of give off a vibe of, I suppose, like a garden center cafeteria. This area is more sort of private study, and this area is for eating, drinking, laughing, doing whatever you want to do. I have used the wooden half wall with the print that's actually up here as well, but when you use it on a full wall, that brown brick and the white little stripes will obviously be present, and on the half wall they're not. So I actually like the difference that creates. And yeah, I'm just really happy with the vibe in this room overall. Upstairs is the room I'm less happy with, and that is the bedroom. And I think this is the place I would demolish first. And that is because I'm not quite happy with what I ended up with the layout. I wanted to play around with the TV idea that I've been seeing other people create. So I've been stacking these little cabinets on top of each other. And oh, I meant to say there is another thing I did downstairs where I took 3 of these cabinets. I saw this in someone else's build. I just stole the idea and it made a nice table. Not an original idea, but inspiration taken. And not really inspiration, it's just downright thievery. Anyway, the reason I'm not that keen with this is because it doesn't feel right having this sofa in the middle of the room. I know it's not quite the middle, you can still get up and down, but I think I would probably just replace the furniture and sort that out. Anyway, I put a little light behind the picture so that you can watch a movie on the TV and it looks, you know, pretty much like the best movie you've ever seen because it's one of my previous bases, which you get to watch all day long. Isn't that fantastic? Here we've got 2 more double doors. Again, bear in mind these are day 1, so I could use the dark, whatever it's called now, because I've moved on to another phase, but I just wanted everyone to see what the day 1 base is actually possible. This is quite cool because it's almost like a bat cave. It leads down to, ooh, what's it going to be? No, it's just my garbage garage with my rainbow coloured bikes. Why do I have 2 bikes? I don't know, but my last base had a double garage as well, and I quite like the feel of that. Again, I'm a fan of working areas feeling a little bit more grubby, like they've not been cleaned 100%, so these little brick walls, I quite like them. I don't actually have a good excuse for why there are 2 fridges in this cubby hole, but the red light is basically, if that's on, just don't open the fridge door because, well, there's probably someone in there. Of course, my cable management is impeccable, as always, yeah, I like the idea of the motorbikes being able to drive out, but I wasn't able to solve the uneven ground issue, so I really wanted to have foundations here, but they just don't sit. Even when you turn off the snapping, they're just not quite right. That's about as high as it can go, and I suppose I could live with that. Maybe I'll play around with it, but essentially that is my base. There are things I would change. I would most definitely make this a lot smaller. I would rein in the entirety of this deck by a block or so, and I'd maybe like make my entire building a bit smaller as well. But overall, I'm very happy with being able to create something with curves all over the place and still manage to get the furniture and decorations applied, but it also creates a lot of empty space, which I am less happy with. Right, earlier I mentioned I would give you some free-to-play options in terms of how to build this without the glass pack. I know the glass pack looks better, guys, but look, you can get pretty close without it. It might not look like it at the moment, but let me just talk you through what I've done here. So at the bottom, that is a wooden fan foundation, and this is a half wood curved wall, and that's the full-size ones there. The reason you want to go half is if you get support beams, they can be wood or stone or whatever you've got access to, and just follow them up there. Put a second fan there, that's the fan ceiling, and if you have a half wood wall there, you will then be able to create a space because of these support beams. And, you know, it's not so bad. I mean, by the time you get a wood print on this, and if you maybe change this to stone, it might be pretty good. Okay, so I put on the wall print and a little ceiling print for the fan there, changed that to a stone foundation, and actually, I'm really happy with how that looks. In some ways, I think it might actually look better. Maybe not with the wooden posts, the wooden pillars, but there you go. That is another way I would do it. Just bear in mind that it might change the overall height of your structure, but now that I think about it, I did want to reduce the size of my base, so I could go ahead now and make it like that. You'd obviously have to solve similar problems when you're doing the crescent foundation going the other way, but there you are. That is a free-to-play solution for the external structure of this base. So let me know what you think in the comments. I'm going to give my base 7 out of 10 because it's decent, it's a good idea, but it's, you know, there are flaws with the execution, and I think there's lots of learning points for the next time. Take it easy, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace!